Okay, I'm here with Jamie Farr, Portuguese football expert with Football Radar. You can find Jamie at the Football Radar. His Twitter is at FR Futebol Jamie, so that's Futebol in the Portuguese spelling, FRFUTEBOL Jamie. So how's it going, Jamie? Thanks for coming on to the podcast today to talk about Portugal's Euro 2016 campaign.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's all going well.
Good stuff.
Enjoying
the Euros?
Enjoying the progress. Yeah.
So I suppose as an Englishman, it's been not the greatest Euro for Portugal. It's probably been a bit of a nice consolation for you to get into the semis, yeah, being that they're your expertise team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are a second team of mine. So it is, it's pleasing after the traditional English disappointment to see Portugal doing well. And I was quite pleased that they managed to avoid each other as well. They were
and they
a matter of seconds away from playing each other. But
and then of course they had those two ties in the space of 2 years back in, wasn't it, Euro 2004 and World Cup 2006?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then of course Euro 2000. Euro 2000 as well. Portugal always seemed to get the upper hand on England in the tournament football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So actually, just picking up on the words you used, to see Portugal doing well. You know, they've got to the semis, sure, but they haven't been playing well. So to me, they're the biggest enigma of this tournament, and one of the biggest enigmas I can recall to have gotten to the semi-final without really winning a game. They haven't won one in 90 minutes. They won the last 16, in my opinion, with, I think, Croatia shot themselves in the foot on that particular occasion. And, you know, they were an absolute disaster in the group stage, Portugal. So how, in a word, how has this happened? How have they got to the semis? Or is this just their historical kind of pedigree coming through? They always seem to manage to get to the semis by hook or by crook.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. I guess one factor of not winning a group game is obviously aided by the new format. There's, I think, in previous incarnations you wouldn't have been able to get through with 3 draws, or it'd be very unlikely.
Yeah.
So I guess, especially for a manager as kind of cautious as Fernando Santos is, it's meant he's not had to sort of take undue risks. Interestingly, in the final group game against Hungary, there came a moment, I think about 5-10 minutes ago, and you could see Hungary looked, more tired team. Yet Portugal weren't willing to attack. I think having drawn your first 2, you need to take advantage and win. But there seemed to be an understanding of the situation and the rules.
There was definitely
a draw was not so bad, and of course if they were to lose, then they were certainly out. So it's strange, really.
Yeah. So let's cast our eye back to the group stage, because coming into this tournament, Portugal, that really warmed up quite well. They had that 7-0 tonking of Estonia, which seems a long time ago. And I mean, a lot of the way the tournament's panned out, and a lot of against those preparation games, goes to show that you just can't really read into them. Like Germany lost to Slovakia in the warm-ups, and it really didn't matter a jot when they came to meet each other in the last 16. And similarly with Portugal, like Quaresma was out on absolute fire. People were saying this was finally going to be his tournament. And maybe you can explain Quaresma to us a little bit, because I haven't quite understood why he isn't starting every game. In the group stage, it was to do with injuries. He's fully recovered now, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah, so it was really unfortunate for him, because as you mentioned, he was absolutely unplayable against Estonia, and and he played well in the previous warm-up as well.
Yeah.
And that sort of seemed to secure his place in the 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you say, he picked up an injury and kind of struggled and had to make contributions from the bench. But again, I think it goes kind of back to the nature and the way that Santos wants to play. You know, he's always been a manager that favours fluid system, players that can do more than one job.
Okay.
I think there's a feeling that if they were to sort of use 4-3-3, which
in the classic Portuguese style.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they did that with what was most Nani, Renato, and Quaresma, I think they may be able to expose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
this
well,
tournament is sort of favouring.
Sorry,
go on.
No, you go on. You go on. Sorry. Excuse me.
No, that's right. I was just no. It's just that yeah. So he's kind of been favouring. It's almost like a 4-4-2, 4-3-3 hybrid in the sense that, you know, it's not too reckless. Players like João Mario and most recently Renato Sanches can kind of fulfill multiple roles within. And I think there's maybe a slight worry. Maybe lack the discipline to do such a role, and maybe at this moment it's better suited to coming off the bench.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that fluidity. Probably Portugal's best 45 minutes of the tournament came in that opening game against Iceland when there was sort of like this total football at play. I was really blown away by Portugal in that first half. We had Ronaldo dropping out left, sending in that great cross for Nani. You know, so Ronaldo and Nani are normally the strikers, but they drift and they overlap and they go into drop into different positions. And it seemed to be working really well in that first half. I was really impressed with Gomez and Danilo, but then the house really came tumbling down when Iceland scored, and then the Austria game was pretty awful, and the Hungary game was just totally mental. It's impossible to analyse that game really tactically because it was just so crazy. But so has he gone for this 4-4-2 also for the fact that basically one of Portugal's greatest traditional problems is a striker? They've always had these great wingers like Simão, players like that, Ronaldo, Nani now, and I think Eder is really the only number 9 in the squad, is he? So is that the reason why he decided to dispense with the 4-3-3, because basically Eder just isn't good enough? He's pretty crap basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the dearth of quality in that position is it's a problem that's plagued them for a number of years. Yeah,
it dates all the way back, you know, to the very beginnings of Portuguese football.
I think the most recent example I can think of is Pauletto.
And Helder Postiga then was sort of like another one by default.
Yeah, exactly. You've had sort of players filling in and not really sort of convincing, being able to establish themselves for at least a consistent period of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely his hands have been tied somewhat by that.
Yeah.
So that's a big influence.
Yeah. So all right, let's move into the knockout stages now, and that just incredibly attritional and just awful game against Croatia. One of the worst games I can recall. Just for the total non-event that it was. If it had been Germany and Austria, there would have been talk of an Anschluss. It was almost like they were playing for a draw. You know, it was really. You know, I'm a romantic, so I don't want to be cynical, and it's hard to understand why either team would be playing for a draw in a knockout game. But there was just something really strange about that match. How did you find that game watching it? How would you explain what happened? Because Croatia were one of the polytip favourites, and they just didn't play. And people will always turn around and give it the tactical dimension, but I didn't see Portugal nullifying them especially. I couldn't understand why Modric wasn't getting into the game and why they weren't using Serna like they were in the first games, in the opening games. So what about you? How did you see that crazy match?
Well, I think initially at least, and I suppose that the tactics dictated such as well, is that I think Portugal were paying Croatia a lot of respect, maybe even a little bit too much respect, because I think that win against Spain really kind of, I mean, obviously we know they're a good team, but I think that kind of catapulted catapulted a lot of people to think that, okay, Croatia really could make a serious bid for the final, particularly considering the side of the draw they ended up on.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of the approach. Was obviously Santos and the team are well aware just how dangerous they can be.
So they just set up. They basically decided to set up particularly tight and try to snatch a goal on the break, which they ultimately did through Quaresma. The goal really didn't look like coming. To me, not to take too much credit away from Portugal. Croatia really left themselves too exposed when they were going for that. They were the ones going for the goal. They were kind of sucker punched. It was Renato Sanches who would come off the bench, showed how great he is attacking space. Just totally ran into the Croatian half, laid it off to Ronaldo, wasn't it? Who had a kind of cross-come shot to Quaresma. It was a really great attacking, counter-attacking goal, but we haven't seen much of that from Portugal. It was quite an anomaly, really, in terms of their tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I think the counter-attacking seems to be one where, they really seem keen to really pick their moments, and obviously that was a moment where Croatia were just completely and utterly exposed. I think they'd hit the post probably about 20 seconds earlier than the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the game, I think there was a plan there.
Okay.
I think it appeared that William Carvalho's job was to kind of keep an eye on Rakitic, and Adrian Silva came in and to stick the post Modric. I think they did those jobs quite well, because it was quite an unusual setup from the manager. Because he brought in 3 players who hadn't played a single minute of the tournament.
Yeah.
Which was quite an unusual move for what was their biggest game of the tournament.
Cool. So yeah. All right. Well, so let's move on to the Poland game, which was another rather soporific event. Portugal winning it on penalties this time around. I actually thought they were better, and I've heard reports of Ronaldo having one of his worst ever games. I thought Ronaldo was one of the better players in that game. I thought he dropped deep and showed himself. Unlike his whole season with Real Madrid in the last 2 or 3 years with Madrid, where he's kind of evolved into this goal-hanging number 9, I found him a lot more generous and playing for the team with Portugal in this tournament. Although things have been coming off for him, he looks a bit fatigued and jaded. But I thought in that Poland game, I thought he was good at developing play, which you haven't seen him do a lot in recent years. How have you found Ronaldo in this tournament?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think he's been asked to do something completely different to what he does week in, week out for his club. I think in general he's just led the team really well. And he is one of those players, like a lot of players, where if he's not scoring, then question marks are asked. Granted, in this case, he certainly missed some good opportunities, but he's run himself into the ground in some of these games.
Yeah, he definitely subscribes to, if at first you don't succeed, he'll just keep shooting, won't he? He loves a shot.
Oh yeah,
we have to talk about the free kicks, of course, because it's just become ridiculous. This notion that he has that he's an expert at knuckleball free kicks. I think the last one he scored was against Portsmouth for Man United in 2009 or something like that. I'm joking, but he's just gotten really crap at them. It's just amazing. That to me is symbolic of his alpha. He's doing it now out of like pure alpha male stubbornness, really, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite bizarre, to get to the point where Ronaldo stands a free kick and
even worse than that, it's like Nani can take them. Nani scores them quite often for Fenerbahce. Curling free kicks. So it's just incredible the kind of level of power he has, that he can insist on continuing on them. But we saw a good side of his leadership actually in the Poland penalty shootout. I don't know if you've seen the footage of him coaxing Moutinho into taking.
With Moutinho, yeah,
that was brilliant.
That was
really brilliant.
Yeah, that was really good.
Because Moutinho was trying to hide away, wasn't he? He didn't.
Yeah, because I think Moutinho missed in the 2012 semi-final shootout against Spain.
Right. Lovely player,
So
by the way. I really like Moutinho.
yeah,
I
superb
describe him
player.
as I'm not claiming this to be original, but I like to like him to like a Portuguese Xavi. I think he's a Xavi light. He's not as good as Xavi Hernandez ever was, but I mean the passes he can pick out. He picked out that lovely ball over the top against Poland. You see that floating ball when Ronaldo fresh aired that?
Yeah, and the half volley, which I think Ronaldo missed an almost identical chance against, I think it was against Iceland. He missed a sort of over the shoulder volley like that as well. But yeah, he's an outstanding player, and even with all of his experience, you know, it's interesting to see that essentially he still needed that arm around the shoulder, and yeah, I think Ronaldo did, you know, lived up to his responsibilities there.
I mean,
and that's
seeing
the sort of stuff.
yeah, seeing the way he handled that penalty shootout, it was almost like he was the manager. You know, it sort of reminded me of Dominic with France, whereas Zidane had basically taken over team affairs. Is there talk of Ronaldo kind of being like a player manager in the Portuguese press, or how is Santos viewed in Portugal? Is he a strong man, or is he quite? He seems to me quite laissez-faire, and it seems like the players have a degree of power.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's you know, he's willing to let seniority apply when needed. You know, he knows he's got great talent at his disposal. He knows that this is quite a close-knit group as well. So I think
with penalties as well. I think that Bosca has said it. It's not really the manager's job, actually. Now that I think of it, you know, it depends on how the players are feeling coming into the penalty shootout. So it was fair enough that Ronaldo took that call with Moutinho, really. Hello.
Hello. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So one other player then we can have a quick chat about is Renato Sanches. He's been a real revelation in the knockout stages. Well, he didn't really.
Yeah.
He didn't feature at all in the group stages, did he? I mean, he came off the bench.
No. The Poland match was in fact his first ever start for the national team.
Yeah, jeez.
So no pressure.
Oh, he's still very raw. I found in the Croatia game, he was completely influential in the goal. But up until that, I find him he's similar to a little bit like Kingsley Coman with France and Bayern, who's going to be his new teammate. He can run up blind alleys. He can kind of look down at the ball a bit too much and not use his head enough. But he's 18. He's got so much raw potential, which we saw with that strike, that incredible strike against Poland. He then took a penalty as well, didn't he? Showed his cojones in the penalty shootout.
Yeah, the penalty was fantastic as well.
Like, top corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, I'm absolutely a huge fan of his. I think he could really become, you know, one of the best players in Europe for sure. I think it is quite extraordinary how quickly it's all happened for him, but I think it's quite incredible that he's, you know, I think it's partly his mentality that sets him apart as well, is that he keeps sort of facing these bigger and bigger stages in this what's only a 9-month period.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem to faze him at all, and he's got such incredible physical strength as well. I don't think I've ever seen an 18-year-old with that much physical strength.
Jeez.
It's quite incredible, really.
Yeah, I was reading up on him a little bit. I see that he hails from quite disadvantaged kind of immigrant area, and perhaps that kind of formed his tough character. He also had a parental breakup when he was very young as well. So his mother is from Sao Tome and his father is Cape Verde, is it?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Sao Tome and Principe, and I've seen him speaking to the media. He seems like a really strong character and very mature for his age.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's even faced accusations from rival clubs in Portugal that he's not actually 18. But
I've seen that. Yeah, I mean that's. I've heard of stories of which I can fully believe. By the way, in case of let's just say one or two George Mendes players. I'm not going to say who, but I can fully believe a year or two has happened in times past where passports have been cooked, but there's an accusation of Sanchez being like 6 years older than 18. So would they not have noticed a bearded 12-year-old like when he was in the Benfica academy?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like how he could have tried to con that big of an age gap. Because they're not saying he's 19 or 20. The accusation is that he's 23 or 24. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it's very strange, very strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really exciting to see him develop and I mean he's managed to now surely manoeuvre himself as an absolute dead cert to start against Wales.
Yeah. Right. So yeah. Speaking of which, so we're right up at the Wales game. Let's move on to that now. We've had a good look through the group stage and the knockouts. So now it's Portugal v Wales in the semis. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I mean it's quite remarkable that this is a semi-final fixture.
Yeah.
There's interesting parallels to draw between the two teams. With their obvious standout individual, kind of head and shoulders above the rest. But I think from Wales' point of view, it's obviously going to be a huge miss to have no Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
And I think that's particularly pertinent for Portugal in terms of the fact that central midfield areas, Ronaldo aside, is arguably their strongest area of the field to me. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be
how they.
It's going to be fascinating to see Ronaldo and Bale in the handshakes, because I think it's fair to say, like, I follow Spanish football very closely, and I'm not trying to invent any tension between them, but it's clear that they aren't close friends. They have a professional working relationship. They're very coy with goal celebrations. Bale has always tried to get Ronaldo's approval, and Ronaldo has been very alpha male around him. I watching Bale's press conference yesterday, I actually made a story about it because I found it a very interesting revelation. Some people might not, but I found it interesting that they haven't even exchanged a text.
Oh, really?
Coming into this semi-final, can you imagine that? Like, even players that aren't facing each other clubmates will often be having a WhatsApp back and forth. But they're about to face each other in the biggest international games of their careers, in Bale's in any case. And you could make a case for being Ronaldo's because 2004 he was such a kid. And that they haven't even had a bit of crack or banter back and forth. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, it's unusual. I mean, particularly as well now, you probably might expect to see something on Twitter as well or something like that. But yeah, it's very it seems as you say, I think it's very professional between those two.
Yeah, can you imagine if Ronaldo would just never live it down if Bale would have beat him in the semi-final?
Yes, it's interesting. It's
not saying he wouldn't for his career, but him personally, I think he would just take it so bad. He would never admit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm not trying to make fun of Ronaldo here. Like, I'm not his biggest fan, but I don't gratuitously make fun of him either, like a lot of people do on Twitter. I think he's had an all-right tournament. He had those 2 great goals against Hungary, incredible goals. And I think he's been working a lot harder than we've seen him for a long time. And I really sort of lament the way what he's become at Real Madrid, just this goal-hanging number 9. When you think back at his time at Manchester United, he was this like fantantista, like they say in Latin, hugging a touchline with great step-overs and skills. And he's too old for that now to be doing crazy, mazy dribbles, but it is nice to see him participate in play a lot more. How predictions are a bit futile, but how do you see this game? Any particular tactical insight you might see, or I personally would make Wales favourites, because I think this tournament has kind of blown tactics out of the water, and it's been a tournament for passion and work ethic. And I just think Wales' momentum and the zeitgeist around them, I think they're just really going to relish this game. Whereas Portugal have been a bit sad, a bit lackluster, and they've kind of just stumbled in here to the semis. I think it's hard to quantify momentum, but personally I would make Wales my favourites.
Yeah. I think. I mean, personally, I thought Belgium would be Wales, and then obviously that didn't quite pan out. But I think, it is a really interesting contrast. I feel Portugal are just the type of team, and they've got just the right tactics, and sort of they've got a lot of experience in the squad as well. That feel they're like the sort of team that would be suited to kind of stop this Wales team. And as I say before, I really think, slightly biased because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think missing Aaron Ramsey could really be crucial, because I think Ramsey's been one of the better players in the tournament for sure.
I would aver he's been their best. I think Bale is a little bit. It's a little bit overhyped, the whole one-man team thing with him. I think his 2 goals kind of obscured, his 2 free kick goals obscured that he was anonymous against England.
Yeah.
Really anonymous against England. And I think over 90 minutes, look at Bale, like Ramsey's contribution to Hal Robson-Kanu's goal. I think his overall contribution has been more varied and more important than Bale's. That's my opinion. I think he's been absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see him reach this level for an Arsenal fan, because he's been so hampered by injuries, and we're now starting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see who they play in his stead. But I just think, I mean, it will be interesting to see if Fernando Santos
King,
willing to.
Andy King.
I think Andy King, or is it Jonathan Williams? I'm not sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Santos is willing to sort of loosen up a bit more and go for it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more likely is gonna keep it a bit compact, and then sort of see how the game pans out. Manage the game as it happens.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So just as we wrap up, then, would you like to give us your Portugal 11, the team you expect to start?
I think. I mean, the goalkeeper's not in question. Rui Patricio will certainly start. I would expect the back 4 to remain unchanged from the. No.
Yeah, because it's changed.
I think Rafael Guerreiro should come back in.
Okay.
At left back instead of Liceo. I think he looks to have recovered from some injury problems, so I think Rafael Guerreiro will come back in. William Carvalho suspended, so Danilo will start there. And then I think, as I say, I think Renato Sanches keeps his place.
And then the rest of the team more or less names itself.
Yeah, interesting to see who joins him in midfield, because they've got a few different choices there. But then, obviously.
Quaresma to spring from the bench again.
I don't know. I think it's so tricky to call. He's sprung surprises in the tournament already.
He's a bit of a tinker man, isn't he? And he uses.
Yeah, absolutely.
He seems to use all 3 subs. Every time. A lot of managers will eschew or that 3rd sub and often just go with 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is good.
There's good variation there in the squad, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's good players which really featured at all as well, people like Rafa Silva.
Eder. The less said about Eder, the better.
I think. He's got his options, so it'll be interesting to see what he goes with.
Well, cool, Jamie. Lines dropping a little bit, and we've gone way over the time that I promised you as well. So, listen, it's been absolutely fantastic chatting about Portugal here with you. Really enjoyed it, and I think you've given us a really good overview of this very paradoxical Portuguese campaign, which has seen them get to the semis. So just to remind everyone, it's Jamie Farr. You can follow him, and you definitely need to be following him if you're a fan of Portuguese football. He writes for the Football Radar, so they're at Football Radar, and Jamie is at FR Futebol Jamie. Frfutebol, Jamie. Muito obrigado, Jamie.
Thanks very much for having me. All the best.
Actually, logo, it'd be great to have you on again, maybe to do an analysis of the semi or the final. Does Portugal make the final?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do so.
All right, mate. Let you go now. All the best and all the best to Portugal in this game.
Yeah, thanks a lot. All right. Well,
All right,
thanks
mate.
again.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.